If you're a handyman business owner or any other home services business, you know that hiring and keeping good talent is the crux of the business. And having really good handymen in my business is the number one priority for my business, and honestly the biggest struggle we had for a long time, until I finally figured out how to solve it, and I had the help of AI to do it. I want to show you on this episode how I had AI help me figure out my actual problem with the handyman that we were losing, as well as how to actually solve it. So I was trying to build a team up to about 8 guys. Well, I was struggling just to even keep 5 guys on there for more than 1 month, because a lot of times I would have a lot of churn, because we would have a guy be on there 1 or 2 months and then we'd have to let them go. And so I was really struggling, try to, make my revenue targets, because we just couldn't keep enough guys. And so we were actually having to turn down work because we did not have enough people to handle all the work that we were getting. And so it was really hard to grow. And so for us, like for me, the biggest problem was trying to grow and maintain a good number of guys on the team, and then making sure that they're doing good work. So my process of interviewing was, I would do a 15-minute screening video interview with them, kind of ask them a couple of questions about what they did in their past, what are some of the projects they've worked on, and then if I heard what I liked enough, then what I would do is I would have them come in for a second interview, which would be in the next couple of days, or possibly as long as a week later. They come in for the second interview, and I would ask them, walk me through a scenario of how you would, fix a drywall hole that the customer, had a hole in their wall. How would you fix it? Walk me through, give me the steps of what tools you would need, how you would diagnose it, and things like that, how long you would take, and then how much you would charge to do that. And so I did that for, a plumbing fix, replacing a ceiling fan, looking at drywall repair, and these were all skills-based assessments. And for that, we ended up picking up several good handymen from there. But what we were finding out is that we were still losing them to everyone. So we had a couple guys where we had to let go because they were not very good at taking feedback from the customer, and the customer was actually scared to give them feedback, so they would actually call me or the CSR to complain and tell them that the workmanship wasn't good, or that they were too scared to tell the craftsman, because the last time they said something to the craftsman, he got really defensive and he didn't take it very well, and so the customer just felt like they couldn't really give them feedback. And so we ended up having to let a couple of guys go because they got really upset with the customer for whatever reason. And so when I wanted to fix my interview process, I used this framework called CRIT, which is context, role, interview, and task. And what this does is, it is a framework for you to have AI become a thought partner, and not just you give it one thing and ask it to give you a solution right away. Okay, because that doesn't necessarily give you the best answer, because that is essentially using AI as a glorified Google. Okay, and so I didn't come up with this idea, so I want to give credit to this guy named, I think, this author named Jeff something, I forgot his name, but he came up with this framework. So I did not come up with this. And what I did was I said, hey, I'm a handyman business here in Austin, and I'm struggling to, maintain and keep guys. And I want you to, you are going to be, so that's the context, right? You give them the context of the business, what you're trying to do. And then you say, okay, you are an expert in the handyman business, customer experience, and retention. And I want you to interview me, to ask me multiple questions so that we can refine the interview process to see if, why I'm losing these guys. And then the task is, I want you to come up with a handful of interview questions for my first round interview and my second round interview. And so that's the CRIT framework. So C is the context. The role is they're going to be an expert in hiring as well as retention. The interview is the I part, and the T is the task, what you want them to produce at the end of this. Okay. And so what was really eye-opening was when it interviewed me, it asked me, what are the reasons you lost the last 5 guys? And I started listing them out. One of them was, customer service issue where he got really defensive. Another one got really mad at the customer. Another one would not take feedback and just got really, argumentative with the customer. And then the other one was 2 guys were with workmanship or craftsmanship issues. And so in doing that interview, it was a light bulb moment because it exposed some blind spots to me. And when it came up with the results of the interview and it gave me feedback, it says, we noticed a pattern that it's not like you interview purely for skills-based things, which is the hard skills of being able to do the work and things like that, but you are not screening out all or asking any questions about the soft skills, which is why you've lost 3 out of the 5 guys. And that was just such a light bulb moment because you're not seeing that when I was saying it. And I never necessarily saw the pattern until AI kind of pointed it out to me and said, okay, so, we need to have some questions on the front end about EQ and be able to screen for some of those questions immediately, because those actually are some very important things that you have having problems with in the most recent guys. And so that was such a powerful moment for me to understand that using this AI as a thought partner produced that and showed me a blind spot. Whereas if I just told it, hey, give me 5 questions that I can ask the handyman to make sure that he's the right fit, because I'm dictating what the AI comes up with by me already telling them what I think the solution is. Whereas if you make it a thought partner with you, then it can actually show you some blind spots in areas that you didn't think was. And that to me is how you want to use it at the next level, is helping create this framework and using this framework called CRIT, which is CRIT, and it's super powerful. And so what happened was I was able to save a lot of time, whereas I asked the question immediately where I said, hey, can you give me, tell me about your last project? And so they would tell me about the projects, and then I would ask them what went well, what didn't go well. And I can tell from their answer when they were telling me about what things didn't go well, how they handled it. And then I would also ask them, if a customer told you that they weren't happy with the work, how would you respond? And how did you respond to a recent incident? Tell me about a time where the customer was not happy with the work. What did you do? I started really listening for that response to see what they would say. And so there were several times where I was able to basically say, hey, this is not going to be a good fit. Thank you for your time, and just end the interview right there instead of dragging it out for another 20 minutes when I know that those people did not have those personal soft skills that I really know that is critical for this type of role. We can get guys that are skilled in doing the work very easily, but a lot of guys struggle in the personality and the ability to communicate well with the client. And that is a skill that I never screened for. And I knew that that was an important skill. I just never thought to screen for that in the interview process. Okay. And so that allowed me to save a bunch of time and quickly screen out guys that probably wouldn't have fit, even though they had the right skills. But when I asked those questions, it really kind of showed me that this is not something that I want to, somebody I want to bring on my team. So that solved that problem very, very quickly. And so what has happened as a result of all this is that we have grown the team to 7 guys now. So we've had several really good hires when I've started asking them about the type of work that they've done, what they've done. And so we've actually had much more personality fit. We haven't had an issue with a customer complaining about a guy and not being able to take feedback and things like that. So that has been really, really good. But to be frank with you, this exposed another problem that I didn't anticipate, and one of those is the interview process itself being a two-step process has actually, in the last month, I've lost 3 guys that I've actually wanted to really take to a second interview. They have actually taken other offers from different companies in the time between the first interview and the second interview. And so what I've actually had to do recently is actually compress the process to ask the skills questions immediately after the EQ questions, or the emotional quotient, or like the personality, skills, and emotional intelligence questions first. If I really liked what I hear, then I ask them about the skills right away, and then I'll go into some of the questions I was asking for the second interview in the first interview, and then actually making a job offer to them right there on the spot for some really standout people. And I was able to hire one guy right on the spot. He's going to start here in the next 2 weeks. And so that exposed another, fault in my hiring process, where I was losing guys that are really outstanding guys, or at least I thought were outstanding and could make a good team member. And so that really exposed a second problem that I didn't anticipate. But this process has yielded me some really, really good new team members. We're up to 7 guys now, and we're clipping at $60,000 to $70,000 a month, because I'm able to take on more work and actually not have to turn away work because we couldn't have enough guys to actually perform the work. And so the takeaway, guys, is to use your AI tool as a thought partner. Have it interview you so that it can expose areas that you would have not thought about to fix the problem. So don't always think about using your tool as an ask a question, give me this answer, give me the answer to this, give me the answer to that. That may be just one use of it, but that's not a very powerful use of it. Okay, so the CRIT framework, so give it context of what you're doing, give it a role so that it knows what type of person it needs to be, and tell it to interview you, and tell it to interview with you 5 to 6 questions, one at a time. Okay, and then also give it what the task is. What is it that you ultimately want at the end of the interview process? Okay, and so that's the CRIT framework. Definitely use that. That's really powerful. And then in a labor market, you may need to expedite or compress your interview process so that you can make sure that you actually make an offer to the guys that are outstanding right there on the spot, because they do not stay on the market very long. I didn't have a problem with that before, and then now as the market has tightened up a little bit, the good guys do not stay available very long. And so I hope that is helpful for you guys. I hope that you've got something out of today's episode, and I hope you guys subscribe if you've got some value out of this, and continue to look for the next episode. Thank you.